Okay. So we were talking about what?
Getting a degree in public health.
Yeah. Yes, during the residency, 2 years of being back in Whites, back in the hospital. Yes, and then the first year.
Well, tell me a little bit about the residency. What was it like to be back in the United States? Did you go through some kind of like tough adjustment or something?
Oh yeah, there was a little bit of culture shock, but we expected that. Of course, we'd been thinking about that a lot in Bolivia because our volunteers were going through it there, and we'd heard about some of the adjustments that they had to make when they returned home. So we were, I think, as well prepared for this as we could be. And then we had that 3-month interim between the time we left Bolivia and then we drove up the Pan American Highway and got back to the States.
What were some of the challenges that they faced to adapt to the life in the United States? What were their challenges? What did they tell you?
I think the major challenge was kind of a question about just how relevant their time away had been, because for the most part, the response volunteers got when they came home was initial excitement to see them, but then sort of ho-hum response to where they'd been and what they'd done. Volunteers would repeatedly report that getting home was exciting, a real mood lifter. Everybody was up, and they were full of stories and information about a new culture. And they got some initial questions, maybe showed pictures a few times, and then everybody was off to something else, and they were there trying to rebuild their lives about what they were going to do next. And we sort of expected that, and that in large measure is what we got. My aunt and uncle in Berea, I think, were the most interested in what we'd done because they'd actually visited us there and had a good sense of what we had done. My father and stepmother had also visited us, but asked, do you remember any questions from them about what we did? I don't think there was any interest expressed anyway about what this had all meant to us, what our future was, what we were planning. They knew we were on our way to an internal medicine residency. I suspect my father was still, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, he was still clinging to the possibility that I would become an internist and then come back and practice with him. So that was never stated, but was kind of a feeling we had. But there was really no question from them about what we'd been through. They had experienced some of it, had their own culture shock in La Paz, and I think we spoke about that with you before. When we, particularly that one day, we took them to one of the Bolivian neighborhoods where there was an open market. So we parked and walked with all these dark-skinned, short people dressed funny and smelling differently into an open-air market. And we're walking through the market, and my father asked if we could go back to the house because he wasn't comfortable. I understood that, and I said, of course we can do that. And so we turned around and came back home. The rest of the time they spent with us was mostly with us, exploring areas in and around La Paz.
Okay, we're going to reset here.
Culturally.
Recording stopped.